Welcome to Man vs. Cave. I'm Jan Michael. He's the Deacon. This is Man vs. Cave, and this great set we got here. This is the show that asks all the questions that define modern man. And today we're going to look at fantasy pitching. We're going to talk about the Rocky Quad Series, whatever you want to call it. We're going to talk about some consumerism and To Kill a Mockingbird.
Wow, how's that for a combination?
Heck, why not? That's the four things that I thought about this morning when I woke up. Yeah. How you doing, Deacon? You doing all right?
I'm doing well. I'm really up for this show.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you here. I'm glad, not to waste any time, let's get right to it. Brad, what do you got first for us?
Jan Michael.
Sir.
It is time to draft.
It is. Pitchers and catchers in a couple weeks.
Who is your starting pitcher?
I've been watching baseball for a long time, and I think we're in an era with the best pitching in a long time. But if I'm going to go with a fantasy team, got to go with Clayton Kershaw from the Dodgers. The guy's unstoppable. Strikeout after strikeout. His strikeout to walk ratio is very low. It'll get you a lot of fantasy points with his innings pitched, and he never hits the disabled list. He's always on there. He's a workhorse, and he'll throw you 250 plus innings a year. I think he's been on the DL maybe twice in his career. Last year he had some injuries, but if he comes out of spring...
DL, that's the Dean's List?
Well,
no, I
never...
didn't realize it was the academic thing.
Well, none of them are... None of the pitchers are pretty high academics. It's the disabled list. It's not the Dean's List. Yeah.
The Dean's List.
No. But he could have been on the Dean's List, but that's not going to get you any fantasy points. He'll be my pitcher. He'll be one of my starters for my fantasy team. Do you ever do any fantasy sports? It's becoming popular. Win some cash.
I hate to say this, but fantasy sports are like a fantasy about a fantasy. Like it's like double removed fantasy, because the whole idea of sports builds on a fantasy. Yeah. And then you're having a fantasy about a fantasy. It's just like
great. You just broke all my love for fantasy sports. Appreciate it. We got something else we could talk about today that Deacon's just going to crush.
Sorry.
What do you got next, Brad?
Deacon. Every year at Christmas time, I see these shots of people trampling over each other at Walmart. Our society has become over-consumerized. I think I just made up a word. Deacon.
Wouldn't be the first word.
What philosophy does the Catholic Church present to the world to counteract this heresy?
That's a big word. What's heresy?
Wow, heresy. That's
he must have done his homework.
Oh my gosh, a heresy means misteaching, a wrong teaching. Yeah.
God forbid you just use the plain misteaching word.
Consumerism.
Trying to confuse the sports guy.
Consumerism thrives because people spiritually are hungry and are trying to fill themselves up with junk food. And there's a whole industry that's out there to provide them all of the things they think they need, but they only really want.
So it's kind of like filling a void.
It's filling a void.
A spiritual void.
With all the wrong stuff, yeah.
Like toasters and microwaves and iPads.
It leaves them hungry, man. It's like, like Chinese
Hungry
food.
Man. I used to eat those when I was a kid.
It's like Chinese food.
No, Hungry Man TV dinners.
You're empty a few hours after. It's like... the consumerism means that you're looking for comfort and solace and satisfaction in something that cannot give you satisfaction.
we're talking about shopping. I went shopping with some of those guys that are on that other show, Fishers of Men, and I kind of caught them buying fish at one of these markets. Yeah, I saw the picture of them holding up a fish they caught. It looks just like a fish that I saw in the market. Just like one of those fish. Sure. So I question their ability to catch fish.
Well, geez, are you like on a first-name basis with dead fish that you could have picked it out?
No, this was a live fish.
Oh, they sell
live fish, yes, at this market.
At this market.
I couldn't read the name of the market because it was in a language I didn't understand. But it was definitely a live fish, and I recognized the fish when they were holding it up. They bought that fish. They didn't catch that fish.
Oh, my God.
So is there like a saint that goes along with this Consumerism?
His type of, oh, you mean fishing?
Yeah, like when they talk about consumerism, is there like a connection with some saints or
Yes,
something?
Saint Falsehood, I think it is.
Oh, okay.
Saint,
Well,
Saint,
Saint F.
Saint F. Why do people go out and buy fancy tackle? Again, it's consumerism because they want to sell you all of this stuff.
Well, they got me sucked in.
Fishing gear catches more fishermen than it catches fish.
You're right. All right, Brad, what do you got after consumerism?
I got a TV show with a Franciscan on it who could not mention St. Francis when we talked about consumerism.
I tried to get it out of him. I just couldn't do it. I didn't know what else to say.
Oh, you know, it's right up there. Say, okay. There was a guy called Francis of Assisi, an Italian guy, lived in the 12th and the 13th century, who had to deal with the consumerism in his day. It was like when consumerism was starting to get really big, and the merchants of the world were starting to get really fat and sell their stuff. His father was one of them, and he was one of them for a time. But he suddenly realized, after almost dying in battle and then almost dying from a disease later on, suddenly realized that his father's goals and his were not the same anymore. And he found out that you got this stuff, you got to protect it. You got this stuff, you got to take care of it. You've got this stuff, and you get preoccupied with selling it and how much you're going to get for it, and eventually you don't own the stuff anymore. The stuff owns you.
Yeah, you get consumed by it. And
you get consumed by it.
Sounds like
and
early on Walmart.
And he really ran with the ball on that one in the exact opposite direction and said, I'm going to take literally the gospel. And Jesus said, sell what you have and come follow me. Well, he took it to the nth degree, where he didn't want himself or his followers eventually to own anything. They literally lived from day to day. Whatever God provided for them, that's what they depended upon.
So they did the opposite of consumerism.
He was looking for complete freedom. And he said, I'll never be free as long as I have to depend on owning all this stuff.
Well, and today, people don't feel like they're free until they can make a trip to Walmart. What do you got next for us, Brad? Great segue to the next question.
Jan.
Sir.
What movie should every man watch?
I don't think you can narrow it down to one movie, but look at the guy behind you. Isn't that a cute little dude right there? That's Rocky. One of the best, 26 movies that men could watch. I think they're on like 26 or 27 now, but I'm really keen on the first four. First four Rockies. What guy wouldn't want to run down the streets of Philadelphia with a whole bunch of dudes following him, run up those stairs and start jumping around and like he owns the joint?
Yeah. I've been on those stairs at the museum.
Isn't that the art museum?
Yeah, I've been
Philadelphia.
It's a long flight of stairs in Philly.
Yeah, never walked up those stairs before.
I did.
But I did watch it, and it's a great movie. Complete underdog story. It's like small guy gets pummeled, then he goes and pummels, and it's great. It's a good. The first four are great. I haven't gotten a chance to take in the last 26. But have you seen some of the Rockies?
I saw the original, and I saw one of the where he battles the
Russian.
The Russian.
Ivan Drago.
Yeah. But beyond that, the sequels are very rarely in the same caliber.
Yeah, the first one was good because it didn't end on a good note. It ended with Rocky's face being like real puffy. It looked like he just got pummeled by a. They were both pummeled.
Yeah.
But see, it didn't end like the guy that was supposed to win wins. So that was a good way to get to a next movie because they didn't really end it with like the best guy winning kind of thing.
You run a series of movies until the money runs out.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
Rocky 26, 27, 28 was a bit much.
Reach a point where the box office doesn't warrant making another.
Well, it was good though. I enjoyed it. But the first four were good. I did enjoy Rocky 4. That was a good one with Ivan Drago. That was good.
I think that's the last one I saw.
Yeah, but some of it's unbelievable at times. But really, I think if every guy's going to sit down and watch a pretty good movie, I would start with Rocky 1. I think it would be a pretty good way to start. All right, Brad, what do you got for us next?
Deacon, what is one book that every man should read?
Well, again, to concur with my esteemed colleague here, there's probably more
use the right word.
more than one book, but I have had to pick one out. To Kill a Mockingbird would be an excellent book to read.
Is it really about killing birds?
No.
I take a lot of things at face value. I mean,
No,
that's why I never picked it up.
The nutshell
I mean, I kill
synopsis,
birds, but I'm a
synopsis
chef.
of Kill a Mockingbird is
already
a
dead.
tale of moral courage.
Oh, that's probably why I didn't read it.
Where a white man in the South defends a young man of color that is accused of a serious crime,
Oh,
and he loses a lot of friends. But he's a lawyer, and he wins the case. And
so just
and
for doing the right thing.
for doing the right thing, against advice of even people who think the guy is innocent, but they know what it's going to do to his standing in the community.
So he should have just followed suit and just.
But
he didn't want to do that.
nevertheless, his moral integrity demanded that he defend this young man.
You know, after your synopsis, I might read the Cliff's Notes for it because it does sound. Do you know they wrote a second book? The second book was written.
Yeah,
she
wrote a second. Only
Just
two,
recently.
only two in her whole life, and then there was this 30-year gap, and then all of a sudden she wrote another book, and then died. Yeah.
Well, maybe it was. How long is the books? Are they long books?
No, To Kill a Mockingbird is not a really thick book.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they made a movie out of it, you know.
Well, then I'll probably watch the movie. I've been pretty good at watching movies. It does sound like a good book. I may take in those Cliff's Notes. Do we have any questions from our very large global audience, Brad?
Yes, Jan Michael, this
Sir.
question is directed towards you.
I am so
It
excited.
is a question from Lawrence in Boston.
I was
Lawrence,
thinking about maybe in Arabia. Saw that one. What does Louis in Boston want?
Apparently, Lawrence saw the show where you talked about being a chef. He says he's grilling out this weekend, and he wants to know if you have any recommendations.
Probably get reservations. No. You know, up in Boston's got great lobster. There's great lobster up in Boston. All right, I've been up there. Went to school up in New England. Went to culinary school in New England. Been a part of Boston for a long time. There's great lobster. You can throw lobster on the grill too.
There you go.
Yeah, you get some seaweed, right?
right.
Get some seaweed.
Yeah.
Soak it in water because there's some seaweed up there. Just go up to
Is
the
it-
Cape Cod and go
They
get
have,
some seaweed.
they have seaweed in the sea? up
They
there?
do, believe it or not.
Wow.
Get it, wrap the lobster up in the seaweed and put the lobster right on the grill. That would be perfect.
Still alive?
No. Well, there's a thing called killing it humanely. You just jab it in the head with a knife and
Oh.
killing it. That's called killing it humanely. You have to kill the lobster humanely. Otherwise, you stick them in a pot of water and they scream. But that's the air coming out of the shell.
Oh.
So, but Louis, good luck with your lobster. That's all we got today. That's all we got for our show. Thanks for joining us, Deacon. It has been a great show. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. Click, like us, subscribe us, do all those things. Make sure you check out all the other shows on our channel. It's a great show, Deke. I enjoyed it.
My pleasure.
Maybe
too.
we'll do it again next time. Thanks for joining us.